Welcome back, and thank you so much for staying with us. If you're joining us right now, we're speaking about the spoken art word form, rather, making sure that they speak true to power. That is our guest in studio with us tonight. So we were speaking about the revolution mindset. He mentioned it. What does it mean?
Yeah, basically, as a human being, you cannot change the world, but you can spark the mind that can change the world. You see, we started doing, we have been doing spoken word for many years, but we started doing spoken word in matatus. Actually, it was this year, January 1st,
It just began this year.
Yes,
it looked like you've been doing it for so long.
Yeah, in matatus, January 1st, 11 p.m. So at that moment, tumekuwa tukifanya from that time paka leo. But we have been sparking the mind, including yours, because you have been seeing it and we are like, okay, wacha nione kama wataacha. You spark the mind. People, the way he said, kitambo ilikuanga wachia siasa wanasiasa. But sasa wanasiasa tuliwachia siasa na wakaanza kuleta wana. So what do? You spark the mind. Now you start sparking the mind through speaking, because once you tell someone something today, tomorrow, your consistency is the only thing failure can't keep up with, and we thrive through that consistency. We spark the mind. Today we will talk about it, tomorrow we'll talk about it in our in our stages, in our performance, in our events. They don't get it, we go into matatus. They don't get it, we go into the street. They don't get it, we come into the TV. We are sparking the mind until now people, because once you spark the mind, people will start putting it into consideration. And once they start putting into consideration, they start telling a friend. That's why you say tell a friend to tell a friend. You spark the mind. You see, you spark the mind. So we keep the conversation going until your mindset sasa ikubali seme, enyewe tunafaa kuchange. Even what Gen Zs did, lakini sasa issue ni kuna Gen Z na Gunzi. Gunzi ndio wanaharibu mambo. So what Gen Z did, it started like a word to like occupy, and people were like, kawaida hiyo, occupy, until they saw us in the street and they were like, tunafaa tufanye kitu. Now they spark the mind. Hata wale wenye wako wana participate. Kitambo watu walikuwa wanajua maandamano ni ya watu yani ni vita huko, but unacheki mabadis huko kwa street maze wametokea nini, because we have sparked their mind until ifike hapo. Sasa ndio hiyo anasema revolution of the mindset. Yani unabadilisha akili, na uwezi tuambia mse, hata mtoto ukimwambia leo acha haezi acha, but ukikeep insisting itafika pale sema na mbona ananiambia hivi. So you spark the mind. That's a quote by Tupac Shakur.
I see. Now, one of the things that, when I watch the videos, when you're talking the matatus, some people start recording, some people start listening. What is the most that you get out of how people are reacting? What is that reaction? What do you call it?
Wow, that is actually how we can measure the impact of what we're doing. Actually, people are very receptive, and we have different reactions. Like day before yesterday, the driver told us, stopped the bus, told us to come off the bus. Why is that? Because he was saying people are very tired, and we are frustrating people performing at night when people are supposed to go home. It was like at 10 p.m. And people told him, whoa, we are good. Let them inject.
Exactly. Like they want to hear what you have to say.
Exactly. So when we go to the matatu, we are almost aware anything can happen. So you have to be very observant even when you're performing. And they say, when you tell the truth, you have to be funny. You have to use metaphors and puns, at least they will kill you. So, and that is the best thing with art. You inject, unauma ukipuliza, yes. So basically we don't expect standing ovations in matatu, but we get them. Some people say, hey, I'll pay the fare. But the impact of this work is when the conversation is being sparked, even online. Just like the Fourth Estate does, we set the agenda on good governance and stopping police brutality and failed promises like we've had 2 years now down the line, and things are not moving in this country. So sad. And our message in the matatus is people need to in 2022 we saw a wide range of voter apathy. People didn't come out to vote. And buddies thought politics belongs to old people. And we are telling people to come out and vote and participate in their civic, electoral, and democratic right. And the impact is other people have started doing it. We've had lawyers, we've had doctors come out and do civic education. We've had a new generation of activists now who use art for social change.
And you've done this in Nakuru, Eldoret,
yes,
all those other places?
Yes. Basically, I come from Nakuru. We have done that in Nakuru.
Both of you, right?
Yes.
Unaniacha nje.
Basically, we come from Nakuru.
Yeah,
yes.
really.
So, yeah.
But the problem is Nakuru hakuna basi. Hakuna basi.
So what mnafanyaje kwa Nakuru? How do you pass your message?
We use our own stages and street poetry. Like we had an event, Shujaz in Nakuru. It was in Nyayo Gardens, and after we performed, they had to switch off the lights. They had to turn off the lights. Police came in and everyone was chased out. And that shows you the power that art has.
I see. But you know, there's the other aspect, you know, because of what has been happening in the nation over a period of very many years, there's a triggering that Kenyans get, especially in trusting people who have come to the forefront to, of course, advocate for their rights and the like. And you've seen that. True. You know, saa zingine unataka kutrust you mse like hapana, amekuwa sell out. You've been seeing that especially at the beginning of the protest.
Yeah,
so.
Really.
You people are also not, you know, out of question in that. There are people who will trust what you're doing, but there's also the fear. What if they're actually not who they say they are, you know? So how do you tell your audience that, okay, this is what I do, and this is why I do it, and I don't have any other agenda?
Yeah, there's something called track record. You can, Giuliani said you can never take people where you haven't been. So like for me, I do art for social change. There are many ways, like neza imba about venye Weba alisema about love. You can even, see that there are other politicians who say, wacha na hii mambo, kuja untolee wimbo ndakulipa nikutoe block. Kuna hii option, but for how long? My art will live forever. Politician wa miaka 5, akiiba anaenda 10. So mimi nataka the idea of us doing spoken word is to inspire hope. There are more goodies out there. Kuna wasanii wenye wana choose kufanya vitu zingine tofauti, but mine is to inspire hope. I want someone to see me and say like, kama Silwez ametoka ghetto na amefika hii level yenye analetwa mpaka kwa K24 kwa news, hata mimi naweza. It's not all about money. Juu kama ingekuwa pesa, then tungechagua kitu ingine ya kufanya. And then pia hiyo story ya track records, people are watching you and what you say, how you move. Like mbona nitoke tu kwa nyumba niende kwa kuperform matatu saa 5 usiku. Hiyo pia there's a level of passion. You know, there's passion, there's love for your people, for your own country.
Trust me, like I'm sure Kenyans can see that, you know, most of the time. But even now, you see, with we've had artists who have become politicians, like you know, Jago and the rest, even journalists for that matter, who are now in government, and some of them are doing a good job, and well, some of them the audience or the public has a problem with, right? For that matter. So there's always the fear that, I mean, you have your own life, you know, maybe you're called for a position in government you're part of, and whatever happens when you get in there, they say brainwashing, I don't know what it is, and then you just become part of the thing that you hate. Yeah. So.
What you talked about, track record, people can see. We've been doing this for the longest time, even when it was not, when our collective conscience had not been pricked. See, in 2022, I did a piece called Dear Citizen, telling people to come out and vote.
I've seen that.
You've seen that, thank you. And now people can resonate. People now understand why we were doing what we did from 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2022. Yes, we are not immune, and that is why we are very intentional about staying true so that people can...
So how do you tell yourself you'd stay true? For example, an opportunity, because at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with having an opportunity like that come to you. You know, because you are already leaders at the point you are right now. So someone may want to see you at a point of leadership that is in this government, you know?
You know, also, now, for now, like 7-8 years, I've been doing pieces on social justice, and sometimes my pieces are very hot for even non-governmental organizations, and I have had to take a hard stance. For 7 years, I've done pieces like Dear Mr. President, Uhuru Maliza Uende, dear Mr. Deputy President, when the now president was deputy president then. So I've faced threats, I've been arrested, I've been given offers, but I've stayed true for the longest time. And also, they say bad leaders are elected by good citizens who don't vote and citizens who think they cannot be leaders. And we have a problem in this country because we left leadership to politicians, but it's not supposed to be that way. In other countries, we have leaders who necessarily don't need to be politicians, because politics in Kenya is associated with lies. You have to be a goon so that people can elect you. You have to be a murderer so that people can elect you. You have to be scandalous so that people can elect you. So we are redefining the whole model of leadership. That is why you find very good artists who were advocating for the people, when they get into politics, now they change because the system is corrupted. So now we want to overhaul everything, and we want to set the agenda, and we want to be a good example so that we inspire hope, so that, yes, Brian Silvers can be an MP, he can be a president. We have DJs, comedians who are president. But in Kenya, we've left leadership to politicians, and it's not supposed to be that way. So we are changing the narrative, and we will stay true.
And I think also to add on that, in Kenya, believe me you, unaona leo venye tunaenda kulala, kesho utaamka na story mpya. Kesho kuna discovery nyingine itatokea tu. So hata ukiamua kukua kwa during the maandamano, people were out there in the street, you know, people, wasanii walijitokeza. But what are you telling people? What are you telling people? There's time for everything. There's time for going to party, there's time for love, there's time for everything. But bad governance, matter to do with governance will never cease. Yeah. You know, stories are corruption haziwezi isha. So mimi nikikata kuongelelea, hatuwezi sote ongelelea love. The same way hatuwezi sote ongelelea bad governance. So pia it's just like Willie said, find your niche. Once you find your niche, and then pia intentions, pia just be clear what you want. If you want to inject people, inject people. If you are there so that you can sell your business, tell people to come and support you. Just be clear, because Kenyans pia wapendi ufala, watakusalimia. Na pia yani kuwa tu mtrue, yeah, kuwa tu mtrue.
I see.
Yeah.
Right, you know, there's the whole aspect of mental health in this whole thing, because many people have been on when the protests were happening, there was a whole path on that, and then it evolved into other things and disappears, you know, extrajudicial things. You know, we just keep on having news that is, you know, heartbreaking, you know, with the recent school fires and, you know, the whole that. So sometimes some people say, okay, we need a break from this, right? And then now there's you guys who actually continuously keep yourself busy with now the truth to power aspect. How do you protect your mental health?
You have to decompress. No one is immune to the pressures of life.
How does that look like?
That looks like taking a break for a vacation, sitting, watching a movie, listening to music.
But really, does it happen?
Pressure.
Because it sounds good right now, like, you know, I'm looking at both of you, but you look like you've been very busy.
Yes, we've been very busy, but personally, I find solace in listening to music, listening to other people. I just shut down. I don't want to go on social media. I don't want to write my own music. I just want to listen to Sia and other soft stuff, soft music, because you need to replenish, yeah? And we also have our own pressures in life. We have family obligations, personal obligations, so you have to balance, because if you act superhero over here, you will die.
For me, vacation hatujaenda kusema kweli, because vacation utaenda upate nchi imeungua.
Nilienda vacation New York.
Yeye alienda vacation New York. But sasa issue pia ukienda vacation unasema haya ashapewa kakitu. Ndio huyo ameenda vacation.
Those are the triggers that we were saying. Those are the triggers that we were saying.
So ndio huyo ameenda, alishapewa. So I think for me sometimes they are, because once by the way, you don't know what you do until you meet someone in that matatu and like bro, keep doing what you are doing. Like msee amekaa tu amenyamaza, and then ukifikiria kwenda hiyo vacation siku 3 uko like, if I stop talking about this thing, ule msee ashaniaminia itakuaje. Sometimes mimi I think ni ile tu, sometimes huwa unatoka hata kwa hiyo matatu kama hiyo yenye huyo dereva amesimamisha, ameanza kuleta abracadabra, but ukifika home msee, unaona msee anakutumia video yako, anakwambia bro, my mom was in that vehicle na amenionyesha hii. Then you just feel good and you're like, let me just keep doing. And then they say, love what you do or do what you love. Once it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable.
But you know, there's a time in 2022 I did a piece, and as I said, sometimes you're very hopeful that when you're doing a piece, maybe on social justice, on governance. So at this moment, the government was against that piece. My friends' close circle was against that piece. Even the non-governmental organization told me to pull down that piece. That piece is very dangerous. And now you are at crossroads, and what you believe in and what you do as an artist. So sometimes you are too hot for everyone, and you have to remember why you started doing what you do. And I did not pull down that piece. So as he said, and sometimes you wake up and you feel like, why am I doing this? But you get the feedback, you see how far you've come, and you just have to keep going on.
I hear you. Now,
and you have to keep asking yourself, why do I do what I do? Once you ask yourself, you will answer that question.
Right, that's clear. And speaking of governance and present issues, like I mentioned before, there's a lot happening, and that keeps to seem, always happen. We have the school fires, like I said, the Indarashta tragedy, and a series of other school fires that happened after that. We have the acting IG, Gilbert Masengeli, being summoned now the 7th time. He has not appeared. We still have the missing, persons who, disappeared, I think from August 19th or something. From that time to now, they're not still, accounted for. And it is said to have been, of course, police, state disappearances. So when all those things come together, plus the Adani JKIA aspect.
Plus yenye utamukia kesho.
Yeah, what comes to mind? What do you feel about all that?
I feel sometimes even the government pia huwa inaweka hapo vitu za kudistract wa Kenya. Na gava pia ina thrive na PR sana. For example, sahi uoni story ya atuongelelei sasa Gen Z. Tuko na vitu zingine tunaongelelea. Kesho vitu zingine. Kesho, like ukikaa tu Kenya uanze kuanalyze tu vitu zenye zina trend vibaya kuhusu hii serikali ya Kenya. Ni mingi sana, but every day unaamuka unapata ingine, unaamuka unapata ingine, unaamuka unapata ingine. Hata sometimes na feel ni kama ni setup tu. Saa zingine hata gava inajiekea tu kitu hapo because kama hii story ya Dani, unasikia mtu alienda huko Dubai akapewa pesa. Ni story ilifanyika kitambo, lakini kama huyo whistleblower angeongea, sasa hivi tungekuwa tumekaa, ungekuja kujipata nchi yako ilishauzwa, wewe umekaa tu hapo.
But you feel the explanations that unasikia sasa the CS talking that this is what has been happening, the deal is not yet closed, does that make you feel like you understand any aspect of what the deal entails? Or are you still asking yourself questions as to why, JKI will be leased for 30 years?
Why didn't they have a public participation? See, this country belongs to everyone, sindio? If they want to do something, they are citizens who voted for those leaders. They should involve them. But they didn't. Now they are saying, we just went there, we just talked, we just did this. Why? Why did
I believe he said the PIP will be made public at some point.
I think the government, ni kama kuna hii bili yenye inataka kupitishwa na huyu MP wa Mbere about protest.
Yeah.
You see, the government comes up with something, after coming up with something, after washamaliza kila kitu, ndio sasa wanaileta. So wewe hata uongee, hakuna kitu itafanyika. You see MPs being bought. So hata ukiongea, so watanunuliwa tu. But you have to keep the conversation going.
True. And actually the government does that to set the agenda and to distract what he said. And shout out to Nelson Amenya for whistleblowing on the Adani takeover. He did that 2 months ago, 1.5 months ago on a space. And people thought it was not it. And the chief cabinet secretary, the illegitimate position that we have in government, came and denounced the claim. But now you see what is happening. So I believe knowledge is power, and the government intentionally doesn't want people to get that knowledge, don't want people to get the information. And that is why they don't do public participation, and they wanasema wanafanya vitu na kifua. Serikali ya mkono mrefu sahi inafanya vitu na kifua. And it's very sad. And we have malinformation, we have misinformation. Like right now, Tweeps and people of goodwill went to Endarasha yesterday, and it was misinformation that we had 70 people missing, and there was
what Kasmil basically mentioned on his X platform.
Exactly, yeah. and that was to antagonize the residents and the people of goodwill. So there are things that the government does deliberately, and the government and politicians have gotten away with so much, and they think they can do everything they want to do. And that is why we are calling people of goodwill, every Kenyan, Gen Z, Gen X. This is not basically about Gen Z and a generational strife. We are calling out everyone to come. Let us hold each other's hand and hold this government accountable. Because what the government right now is doing with all the sagas, all the propagandas, we have people even on social media who work for government. I come from Nakuru. If you tweet anything about Nakuru County government, you have to ask if you want the governor to reply herself, press 1. If you want her to reply, the bloggers to reply on her behalf, press 2. We have propagandists everywhere.
The fight is against government and the people.
Exactly.
And when you, I think the government pia naletanga hizi vitu kubai time. Unaona venye wameanza hizo stories za ndani, kuna place pia wanasafisha rada. So lazima ukue macho, because hawa ma whistleblower na nini. Because the conversation ikianza, you will see the likes of Kinaitumbi like, stop misinformation, stop this, stop that. But eventually unaanza kusikia, okay, iko, lakini hatuja sign. Unaget?
I see. But there's also the argument of, even the conversation about the funding model, that there's a lot happening on the ground that doesn't seem to have a clear, path of communication.
Exactly.
So you can have even good things, it's not communicated.
Exactly.
You can have things that are happening currently, but we don't see them. And we've not done a lot of due diligence rather with our leaders to establish rather why it's happening in the way that it is. But that mentioned, what do you feel this moment represents in history, especially in our country? Because if you look at analysis, this government was brought in by a lot of support by the youth, and now we have the youth also, in an uprise in the same breath. What do you think this moment in history represents?
First of all, I will say about civic education is the way forward. Because what the government does, for example, we went on the street, wase wakasema do this, do that, do this. Wakarishuffle cabinet. Sai president ako campaign sijui Murima, ako campaign Murembe, ako campaign uko Lakeside. The government is campaigning already for 2027. He doesn't care about what you are saying. So for us, like the people of Kenya, civic education is the only way. Because that I realized through civic education, I go to those Twitter spaces and I realize things even I didn't know. So I think we need to keep on injecting,
So our problems as a nation and as a people started when independence ilikuwa handed to us, and there was deceit from back then. General Baimungi, deception, Mudhoni wa Kirima, people were betrayed, and we've had the problem of youth bulge from Kibaki's regime, Uhuru's regime, and this regime. The problem with this regime is they overpromised, very deceitful, and we have a spending issue with, and it looks like they don't care. So this moment now represents a turnover, a Damascus moment, whereby even the baddies, I saw a baddie on the streets, even the baddies now are involved. And now we realized that these politicians actually answer to us, and it's not vice versa. And you see now, people talk to the president, people are now cowed. Initially, when I was doing pieces like Dear Mr. President, people were telling me, where will go be forced disappearance? And I used to go to visit my aunt and I'd be haraka haraka urudi. But now, we have set the agenda, and now people can talk truth to power. And going forward, things will never be the same again. And people have realized we will only have a new generation of leaders when we have a new generation of voters.
I see. No. Now, there's always been the perspective of every generation, not just this one. You know, when the youth comes in, there's a misunderstanding or conception of what they represent. Maybe it's not serious, maybe they're not organized, you know, and that has been, of course, how the Gen Z were perceived. You know, lack of, organization, lack of proper understanding, civic education, like you've mentioned, and the like. You know, so what do you feel is one of also the challenges that they may be facing, and things can be done for whatever they want to do to, of course, convey the message better, for that matter?
Well, the challenge is the narrative, the forces that people of goodwill are fighting. You see, even when the protest started, they termed it a Gen Z protest. Initially, it was supposed to water down all the issues and so that people think it's only about iPhones, KFC
Uber.
And Uber. But we said yes. Personally, I'm a millennial, but we said yes. We are Gen Z, but we want good governance. Yes, and we were not disorganized. We were not leaderless. We were led by our struggles, youth bulge, tribalism. How can you have over 15 million on 25th? It was recorded. We had over 15 million demonstrating, and yet we were not organized. So I think these are narratives that were pushed by the oppressors, and that is the challenge that we have. We have a communication barrier between our ruling class and the youth and the leading oligarchs and the citizens. We don't have a channel to communicate. Even right now, when people protested and the president thought to quell everything down, we need to bring opposition to government. But what they did is to suppress and to hold and to halt the demonstrations.
Right.
But they did not solve the issues that people were advocating for. So I think people need to communicate. People need to have a heart-to-heart talk. And that is why we're using art, because art is the language of the heart.
Yeah, I hear you. Right, so very briefly, your final comment on the matter.
Yeah, just to add on what Willie said, it wasn't all about Gen Z. Those doctors who came to treat us during the protest, were they Gen Zs? They weren't Gen Zs. It was inclusive, but now hiyo tu narrative na kuwater down hiyo nini, ni hao tu watu wanaleta tu propaganda tu, but hiyo ya kufanya tu ikae tu mchezo.
Propaganda imeganda
but hawaku succeed.
Right. Okay, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
You know, that has been very enlightening conversation on why you do what you do and what it actually essentially means for that matter. Nashukuru sana umekuja leo.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right.
My name is Brian Silways.
But you ni stage name ama ni like kuna hiyo Silways ya mwisho?
Silways. Hiyo ni jina yangu.
Your ID kabisa.
M-Pesa jaribu.
So Remmy, I've been nominated for Pan-African Impact Influencer of the Year. Please go vote. Voting ends on the 27th. And this year, I'm celebrating 10 years as a spoken word artist who's been doing pieces on social justice. The event will be on 12th of December at the Kenya National Theatre. you're also invited.
Asante sana. I will remember to show up also, you know, put that on my calendar. Right. Nasaki mwende tu hivyo, I need you to do a bit of your thing. The way you began the bulletin, 30 seconds each. Sawa.
Safi.
Rusheni mistari.
Thank you so much. My name is Brian Silways. I'm an urban spoken word artist and a Forum Civ fellow. So afande with or without uniform sare kujudge my youth hata kama wame dress to kill. These looks are deceiving. People can't be dying because you want to earn a living. Na kijana pesa ya pombe isifanye unyonge watu juu ya kuwaibia. Nimerepi word kuliko MCA wako juu manene ubakaji sitaki kusikia. Wacha salamu. Uchumi ni mbaya mpaka unaweza toka shopping without getting a good buy. Mafuta inatoka chini ndo price yake imekuwa the most high. Tutazidi kuluzo pifatol njando kitu tunaweza shinda. Northeastern si Camel pekee hata watu wanaangamia. Free education sasa ndio imekuwa bure kabisa. Paint our schools at least to pass na flying colors. Vijana tunaambia serikali hatuna kazi, alafu serikali inatuuliza tushaisoma Bible ukakosa job wewe. Mrembo, kuacha na utaachwa. So unalilia mbegu ya boyfriend akutaki nikao juu unaweza pata jeans kwa toja. Brian.
Nimekuwa spoken word item. Oh my goodness, nimekuwa spoken word item.
Dear Mr.
Tema
President.
Tema yo mate.
Do you know the leaders of tomorrow are dying today? Ni guts tu hakuna, but everyone has something to say. Manifesto hope hazina, our mothers have resorted to pray. Na watoto wa CBC nani atawafunza hiyo tumechoka. Even Rihanna doesn't want you to stay. Kwa nchi everyone is crying for justice. Hata Chief Justice ana cry for justice. Hakuna mtu akoshua na hii katiba. Ndo maana lawyers wana practice.
Sawa basi. Meshinda, I want to say that I am not part like what he basically said.
No, I was using the lady in home, wewe mrembo.
Amekuchomea.
Lakini pia watu akataka kuachwa sasa unacheki Brian hapo na wachomea.
Angesema kitu kama
ungekuwa nini?
I have lost your number. Can I have your eye contact?
Sawa mrembo pale nyumbani Brian amemwambia basi. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for watching our segment right here. Of course, we're speaking to this very talented spoken word artist, Willie Oyeba and Brian Silways. Of course, speaking truth to power. We're taking a short break and we'll be back with the sports news with the lovely Gladys Midecha.